All right, I'm back, mostly. I think I'm about 90% back on this voice, so still going to sound a little bit froggy. It's like day 9 or 10 of this cold. It's the longest cold I've ever had, and I've thrown all my biohacking and medical skills at this one, but I'm able to speak again, so I'll be happy to answer the questions that are pre-submitted and answer them and put them up on my YouTube channel when we're done with this. So those are on drtwyman.tv. And so we'll get started. But my voice is probably going to crack a little bit tonight. So, perfect question. Daylight savings time causes 24% increase in heart attacks today. Can I please explain the underlying mechanisms? Short answer is it's a acute circadian rhythm disruption or misalignment. So people are short slept, so more car accidents, more heart attacks today. So light is important. 100,000 different reactions happen per second when the light strikes your surfaces. So the best way to get ready for daylight savings time is to, don't miss your sunrise. And then when it gets dark, then start making your environment dim or continue to wear your blue blocker so your body gets a signal that it's nighttime. All right, second question. Could I again summarize the top diagnostic tests for endothelial/glycocalyx? So there are no direct tests for the glycocalyx other than the glyco-check microscope. That's a multiple tens of thousands of dollar machine and still has some research that still needs to be corroborated by other industry vendors and as well as research institutions. But interesting device. You can actually look at the microcapillaries under the tongue. But in general, you're looking at the endothelial response with tests such as the pulse wave velocity. The one we use in our office is called the max pulse. The EndoPAT looks at the Reactive Hyperemia Index, or how much nitric oxide is released from the arteries when there's a vascular stressor. You want your RHI to be greater than 2.1, but optimally greater than 3, meaning your arteries triple in size when there's a vascular stressor applied to them. Blood pressure, is a rough estimate of endothelial function. Blood pressure should be less than 120 over 80 millimeters of mercury. And then a whole host of labs, including urine microalbumin creatinine should be normal. ADMA estimate should be normal. Uric acid should be less than 6. Homocysteine should be less than 8. Should not have elevated oxidized LDL or oxidized phospholipid ApoB. And then there's a couple other markers, but those are more one-on-one depending on what your context is. Is there a correlation between gut symbiosis, permeability, and cholesterol particle size? Probably, but does it truly matter? No. Particle size does not matter as much as particle number. It's the number of ApoB containing particles that is associated with increased atherosclerotic burden. So if you already have plaque in your arteries, you have an abnormal CIMT, you have a normal calcium score, you have an abnormal clearly CT angiogram, you have normal ankle brachial index scans, then you're generally going to be less than the 20th percentile. So don't worry so much about particle size. It's much more about particle number. Is it possible to make scars in the heart after troponin damage dissolve? I don't know if I would use the word troponin damage dissolve. Troponin is an intracellular protein that gets released when myocytes die because of ischemia and then infarction. This is one of the diagnosis metrics for myocardial infarction, as a rise and fall of troponin levels. So yes, if you're basically spilling troponin into the bloodstream, it's a sign of myocardial damage in many instances. And with that damage, there's often a scar process that occurs. Does using red and IR panels before sunrise short circuit proper cellular signaling? Interesting question. It's not likely as bad as the other wavelengths of light. I don't tend to use a lot of photobiomodulation before sunrise. I do have red LED or incandescent red bulbs in my office so I can read in the morning time before the sun comes up. We'll do some PBM at times, and I've not seen any problems in myself, but I generally, except when I'm sick like this, generally sleep outstanding. So that would be my main concern, is that if it's affecting your ability to sleep well. So I think I read in IR devices is sun supplements. You would like to use them during the times that the sun would normally be up, ideally. All right. Studies show that AM infrared UVA penetrates clothes. You said skin needs to be bare. Does it? Well, you mix two different wavelengths of light. Infrared and UVA are not the same. They're completely different, wavelengths. Infrared will likely penetrate. This is why you feel warm when the sun hits you. But UVA is likely to be blocked unless you're wearing a Kaniki or a cool tan-through device, or a cool tan-through shirt that has holes in it. Otherwise, the UVA is going to be bouncing off of the surfaces. And anyway, it's much like a tarp. Anything that's getting filtered, you want to make sure it's full spectrum and it's not being changed when it goes through the clothing. Right. And I saw a question earlier. I bet maybe somebody took it down, but I did do some research on it. So I was asking about the supplement Fatty15. Just watched a good podcast from Bill Harris, who's the world expert in omega-3 fatty acids. He was on Simon Hill's podcast. So go take a listen to it if you want to hear the backstory on it. But the short is that there's not a lot of research on Fatty15. It is definitely not essential. It is definitely not better than omega-3s, particularly through dietary intake of omega-3s. So don't think it's harmful, but at this time it seems to be a lot of marketing claims. What is my opinion on eggs? Delicious. Have generally 5 a day, so 30 grams of protein to start the day. It does not affect my lipids in any way. Very rarely does it affect people's lipids, but if it did, then you'd have to find a different source of protein in the morning time. But it's one of those cases, test, don't guess. It's not the cholesterol that's the problem, it's sometimes the saturated fat for some people. And somebody's asking, and I don't even know what this product is, so I'm going to have to do some research on it, but they're asking about a product that does it work for the glycocalyx. I'm pretty well up and date on the major players in the world of the endothelial glycocalyx. So that is a new product that I've not heard of. So let me do some research to see who makes it and what research that they're reporting before I come back with that one. And then I think somebody submitted it in my DMs, so I'll do my best off the top of my head. But if you want me to answer the question, the best way to do it is always to put it in my story so that it pops up here and I can read it to you, and so it'll make a little more sense. But somebody sent a story about that they had a buddy who could not get the heart rate up past 118 during exercise. They're evaluating with other testing to see do they need potentially maybe a pacemaker. Sounds like they might have sinus node dysfunction. I don't know enough details to fully diagnose that, and also that's outside my area of expertise. That's what the electrophysiologists do, the electricians of the cardiology world. But typically, if you can't get your heart rate up with exercise, you're concerned that the sinus node is not firing effectively. The wiring system essentially may be wearing out. So sometimes an electrophysiology study or EP study is utilized to figure out where the conduction abnormalities occur. And if it's a high degree block that they discover, then they recommend a backup pacemaker. All right. That might be another short and sweet one. My voice is, like I said, about 90% back. Still a little bit froggy, but way better than it was last Wednesday, where I was literally whispering for a couple hours. And so getting better. So I'm going to let rest again for the rest of the night because I got a bunch of people to see in the office tomorrow at Apollo. If you're still interested potentially in working with us, we still have some availability, but it's booking up fast. We're booking 2 to 3 months out in the future. If you're interested, go to my website, drtwyman.com. There's an application, and one of my team members will set up an onboarding call with you. So appreciate you guys' time and attention. Next week, I'll make sure my voice is much better, and I'll stay on longer and answer as many more questions if I can. So have a great week, and we'll see you guys next time.